We have come to stand in truth. We have come to stand in the presence of God. Let's do that one more time, nice and clear. Shout it out for me. We have come to be together. We have come to be renewed. We have come to be alive. Be alive. You are alive. We have come to stand united. We have come to stand in truth. We have come to stand in the presence of God. We have come to stand in the presence of God. We have come to stand in the presence of
Good morning, everyone. We are here to celebrate. I just want to say that there are a lot of emotions in this room today, and they're all welcome. So there is a lot of joy and celebration and appreciation, and there is a lot of sadness and grief, and it's all welcome. So we have been planning this service for a long time. And I don't know if you know this about our church, but we have a reputation in the industry that we plan very well. And so we have this thing pretty much scripted, planned, organized. And then 2 weeks ago, we had an uninvited guest come to Houston named Harvey. And we were disrupted in our plan. And, you know, we really thought long and hard about it. Howard and Diane asked, is this the right time? When so many of our own people are hurting, is this the right time to have this celebration? And so we prayed about it, and we talked about it as a staff and with the leadership. We really, I wouldn't say we wrestled with it, but we were with that question, is this the right time? And what we came to is that because there is so much destruction and struggle in our city and in our church, we need this. We need a moment to come together and celebrate. So thank you. Thank you, Howard and Diane Caesar, for allowing us to celebrate you today and the incredible contributions you've made to this community, to this city, to this planet. We love you. And having said that, let's have a moment of prayer. And so we do want to remind ourselves that God is present everywhere. And there are many places in our nation, in our city, and in the world that are dealing with disasters in the natural realm. For those who are with the fires in the West, the earthquake in Mexico, the hurricanes in the Atlantic, particularly those in Florida, in Irma's path, but also those who have already been in that path that have Jose coming behind. All of the people we know, whether we know them personally or not, anyone who might have the appearance of being in harm's way, let's surround them right now with the light and the love of God, which is the absolute truth. That we are eternal souls. We have been born into human experience so that we may discover God anew in all circumstance. God is waiting to be revealed. So let us stand with all of those who may be in fear, who may be experiencing loss. Let us remember that one of my favorite names for God, the Holy Spirit, is the great comforter. So let us know peace for all. I am so grateful for this amazing teaching that we call unity, that we are one with the only presence there is. The light and the love of God is everywhere, including in us. And we recognize that is true for all beings, all people. We honor all paths, all religions. Truly, everyone. And we turn to this moment of celebration in the life of Unity of Houston, which has been here nearly 100 years, sharing this truth of oneness, and we do celebrate the light and the love of Howard Caesar and Diane Caesar. We are so full in our hearts with love and appreciation and gratitude. Thank you, God, for gifting us with them. Bless our time this morning. And so it is. Amen. Just breathe. Remember just to keep breathing. And if you need a Kleenex, just elbow your neighbor. We have a few boxes out there, but we're going to probably need them today. So we weren't planning on doing any announcements. You thought one service, we're going to not have announcements. But as I mentioned, Harvey, right? So we do want to let you know. Many of you have not been able to be here in a while, and I want you to know that your church is responding to what has happened in our city and in our community. So there are a couple things I want to bring up on the screen for our hurricane relief and recovery efforts. If you or someone you know in our church has been affected by the storm, we're asking that you let us know. This first email address is where we want those who are in need, hurricanerelief@unityhouston.org. And if you would like to be part of the solution as we make people right and whole again in their lives, then we'd like you to send us an email to the other email address. When you send us these emails, we're going to give you instructions to join a private Facebook group. It just came together. Thank you, Cindy Wigglesworth, for putting that together. It is really working. We are getting those who need help with the people that want help. And there's another way that you can let us know how you would like to be a part of this is in the lobby, the courtyard today, the Unity of the Community table will have an intake form, and you can just fill it out and let us know whether or not you've been affected or whether or not you would like to help us in our recovery efforts. And speaking of the recovery efforts, one of the things that came on early on, one of our members called me up in the middle of the hurricane and said, I want to give $25,000 to our efforts to make people right and whole again. So it's happening. And so we have begun an amazing fundraising effort. It continues to just flow in from, just got a couple of checks this morning. Mile High Church in Denver has beautifully given us a $5,000 gift. Big Sky Retreat has given us over $2,000. We are being so beautifully supported. And you can be a part of the fundraising as well. This Friday night, we're having a special benefit concert. And, oh, yes, you can go to youcaring.com. Sorry, I'm going all over the place in the announcements. The concert is this Friday night at 8 o'clock right here. Now, at 8 o'clock, we normally start at 7 or 7:30, but we are live streaming this concert all around the world, and we thought 8 o'clock is we'll get both coasts right there. There are watch parties being formed all over the country. Churches are gathering to watch our concert, but we want the room filled here. So I hope you'll join us at 8 o'clock on this Friday night. There will be no tickets, but bring your checkbook or your credit card because we want to raise a lot of money. We want to blow that $100,000 goal out. You can give, now go back to the previous screen if you wouldn't mind, you can give to a crowdsourcing site that we have set up. It's called youcaring.com. And if you go there and search for Unity of Houston, you'll see this. I think that total is probably already out of date a little bit, and that does not include all the other gifts we've gotten. But we are going to be able to help some people, and we want you to be a part of that effort. All right, and I think right now I would like to acknowledge some amazing people that are here with us today. First of all, we have the CEO of Unity World Headquarters, Mr. Jim Blake. Jim, would you stand and let us acknowledge you? So I'm going to introduce some other folks by group, and if you wouldn't mind, I'm holding your applause till the end, and we'll have everyone be acknowledged. But we have, on Friday night, we had a wonderful dinner with some colleagues and ministers and associates, and all of our out-of-town guests. Would you mind just standing where you are so we can acknowledge you? We love you. Go ahead and stand. And also, or go ahead and applaud, too. Sure, we'll do that. Thank you. Our board of directors is here today. Would you stand, please? And the last group I want to acknowledge this morning, it's the Legacy of Love Planning Committee, and it includes staff, board of directors, and lay people. If you are on that committee, would you stand so we can recognize you and thank you? There are really too many people to single anyone out, but I felt a very strong desire to single one person out. I know that Howard would approve of this. There is, in our planning efforts, and I mentioned we had a hurricane 2 weeks ago, there's one person who has been helping us pick up all the dropped balls, making sure that all of the mini events, not just this service, were able to happen. And she has done an amazing job. Please give some love to our executive director, Carolyn Lebanowski. And with that, I think we're ready to welcome our kids on stage. Please welcome our Unity kids.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
My name is Stephen Kudler, and I'm the Director of Youth and Family Ministry here at Unity of Houston. If we could have Reverend Howard and Diane come forward. Come on down this way. Reverend Howard and Diane, we have a gift for you too that we created in Youth and Family Ministry, a gift of love. You know, for all, Reverend Howard, that you have done, your dedication, your commitment to Unity of Houston, to Youth and Family Ministry, your vision, your guidance, and support to Youth and Family Ministry. Thank you for all of that. 34 years. Thank you. And Diane, thank you for your involvement in Youth and Family Ministry. You have been a guiding force in the program, your love, your dedication, and your shining light. It just radiates from you. So thank you. So we created this. Guys, want to raise it? Can you hold that? And what it is, it's composed of the handprints of all of the kids in Youth and Family Ministry, on all of the kids. So we did their handprint, and then what we did, we created a flower. And then what it says here is, we are each unique and beautiful. Together, we are a community. And then down here at the bottom, you probably can't see it, but it says The Caesars, A Legacy of Love, YFM 9/10/17. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, and teens, I just thought of this right now. What I'd like to do is our unity blessing. You teens know the unity blessing, right? And all the kids? We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you. So, okay, so get the energy going. Rub your hands together. All the kids, rub your hands together. Okay? And then send all of your energy to Reverend Howard and Diane. Look at them. Okay? 1, 2, 3. We love you. We bless you. We truly appreciate you. And we behold the Christ in you. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, YFM, Youth and Family Ministry. Yeah, we're done. You guys get to go back to Sunday school now. Let's give them some more love as they're leaving. Bless our kids and our teachers, these amazing teachers. Wow, that was a pretty quick exit. They did great. We are so blessed and honored today to have some honored guests, including my Congresswoman, Sheila Jackson Lee. She is here to have a presentation for Howard and Diane. Please welcome Congresswoman Lee. Thank you.
I started to have nostalgia as I turned on Unity Drive. As often as I've come to this wonderful place of worship, I probably turned on the street without paying too much attention. But today I did, because I think what we are honoring today is the ministry of unity. I'm very glad to be here with Judge Vanessa Gilmore, who you'll hear shortly. Howard and Diane, I look a little better than I've looked for the last 2 weeks. I have not worn clothing of this type, whatever you may adjudge. I've been in boots, fireman's boots, and T-shirts, and in my bag right now, I'm going to do one of those superwoman changes and put on my pants and sneakers. Because as we all know, there are people who are hurting. And even in this place, there may be those of you who faced a Harvey. And as we're watching my friends and colleagues who I bid adieu as we went back to Washington to address Harvey, passing $15 billion on Friday, and as I introduce for all of you and for those who may come for housing and for disaster, as I introduced $174 billion, not for Harris County or Houston, but for the region, to help you. I reflect on the greatness of this church in all of that, because what came out was what Howard and Diane's ministry has been for 4 decades. I like 4 decades better than 40 years. For some reason, decades just embellishes and embolders what it has been. It is the unity of this community and the unity of this nation that what has bolstered us and allowed us, as I've done over the weeks, as I've seen the mayor and others and all of you, to give that hug, that love to people who are explaining their plight, and they start off very detailed, and then all of a sudden they just collapse in tears. So I think of this ministry as starting us out, even in times of joy, to explain, I'm so full this morning, of what unity is. Howard and Diane, you have taken us above Charlottesville so that America does not see us in that light. For those of you who may not know, I went to the University of Virginia Law School. I walked those very spaces where people were and where a dear sister lost her life. And so for a moment we drowned ourselves in tears and despair, for we were wondering, for those of us born in many different skin colors and speaking different languages, whether this was what America thought of us. But you could always turn that corner on unity and recognize when it was not popular, it was not current, that this was a place of refuge for people who loved each other and loved the Lord, and it didn't matter what language, what place, what station, what economics, it did not matter from whence they come. Howard and Diane exuded the unity that is so important to this country. So I'm grateful to you and want to thank the board and Pastor Gott, who will be coming up and leading and lifting and moving on to greater space. And so my words are simply that these are 40 years or 4 decades. This is Harvey and Hurricane Irma, but it is a beginning for Howard and Diane, for them to overcome the Charlottesvilles, the Harveys, the Irmas, and all that may come. They now have a new opportunity to go forth and make a difference. How exciting it is for them. You should give them a praise for their service of yesteryear, but their future in going forward and taking their message. So as I close, I bid you adieu, and I apologize to my sister, Dooney Hembrum, that I will not be able to worship with you today. As I said, I will be changing into T-shirts and sneakers because, as you well know, in many places, people are still picking themselves up. But I did not want to miss the opportunity. In many places of worship, we say, give honor where honor is due, to express our gratitude for exuding the greatness of this nation and overcoming the divisions and isms, and at least saying that if they're there, they're over there, they're not us. And on behalf of the United States Congress, who by this week has reached to their higher angels, Republicans and Democrats hugging each other. I'm hoping that we will pass that lot. I hope that we will be most eager to do what is good for all of us. And so I will take the message of unity back to Washington as I go back to finish our work. I ask that you lift up not only Hurricane Harvey and those who are on the road to a very difficult recovery. I just want to say this, 600,000, the largest in history, FEMA applications across the region, 3 million people displaced across the region. We have a long and painful journey that is going to need a lot of love. And unity is one of the places that we know will continue to embrace. And so to this great couple of ministry, I want to say to them that I take great pride in acknowledging the 4 decades where Reverend Caesar has professed the Word of God, the Awakening of Life broadcasts. He has worked on many boards of directors dealing with, from Martin Luther King Chapel at Morehouse to many other places. And Diane has been able to lift up the people of God in her spiritual and dynamic personality and support of this great message and ministry. And so I present to them this certificate of congressional resolution, but again, I think it is certainly not inappropriate to make sure that they are known as very special Americans in presenting to them this flag, again, that was flown over the United States Capitol in honor of Reverend Howard Caesar and Mrs. Diane Caesar. And I would ask the men and women who have served in the United States military to stand as I make this presentation to them. Would they come forward now? If you've ever served in the United States military, thank you for your service. We know what the flag means to you. I want you to be able to see them. It allows me to thank the Marines Navy and Army, the Texas National Guard, the Coast Guard, the Air Force, and beyond, who helped us over this past time. And so now that you have stood, join them in applauding as they have presented the flag of the United States, this great couple who serve in God's grace and mercy. Let me just say one thing. As you well know, the mayor and Judge Emmett and Governor Abbott, who I've been with and spoke with yesterday, they're all on the road, and I know that the judge will be here for Mayor Turner, so I know that you know his love is with you this morning. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. So, as Congresswoman Jackson Lee has just told us, that is true. Mayor Turner was going to be here, Howard, and he was so happy to be here, and because of the storm, he is not able to. But we have someone very special who is coming here on his behalf. It is federal judge Vanessa Gilmore, and what you may not know is she is a member of our church. She is here. Please welcome Judge Vanessa Gilmore.
I am honored to be here representing our mayor, Sylvester Turner. He wishes that he could be here. He is helping our city figure out how to get back to life as they can and to get back to some sense of normalcy. I'm happy to represent him, and happy that he and my friend Chow Nguyen asked me, because they knew that I was a member of Unity, if I would be willing to come and give greetings on his behalf, acknowledge Howard and Diane, and offer his most sincere congratulations. One of the last times that I saw Sylvester here attending church at Unity was just before the election, just before he was elected mayor of the city of Houston. And the message that you gave that day, Howard, was one that he and I talked about, how personal he felt the message was for him. You gave a message that day about how God lets things happen in the time that they are supposed to happen, not when we think that they are supposed to happen. And what touched him so much about that message was the fact that he had been running for mayor for 25 years and how it had just not happened for him. And the message that you gave that day touched him in a way that gave him the strength to keep going forward during that election season, because he said, that message was for me, wasn't it? And I said, for you and a lot of the rest of us, too. Because we all want things to happen when we want them to happen. Just like we didn't know that Harvey was going to come visit when this celebration was supposed to happen. Maybe this was when it was supposed to happen, because we needed this kind of celebration at the end of what we've just gone through. And so maybe today was the appropriate day for us to be able to acknowledge Howard and Diane and to have this kind of celebration today, because as you said during that message that you delivered, not at the time that we think, but at the time that it is supposed to be. And today is the day that we are supposed to be here acknowledging your 40 years of service in the ministry to the city of Houston, to the members of Unity. We all thank you, and the mayor of the city of Houston, Sylvester Turner, thanks and acknowledges all of the work that you've done, not just for the people here, but for this entire city. We want to really say thank you. And so I'll read just a small part of the proclamation. On September 10, 2017, Unity of Houston will honor and celebrate Reverend Howard Caesar as he begins his retirement after devoting 40 years to the ministry. In recognition of this special celebration, the City of Houston congratulates and commends Reverend Howard Caesar and Diane Caesar on this momentous occasion and extends best wishes to a long and happy retirement. Therefore, I, Sylvester Turner, Mayor of the City of Houston, hereby proclaim September 10, 2017 as Reverend Howard Caesar Day.
Thank you for being here.
I pray you'll be our eyes and watch us where we go, and help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer when we lose our way. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe.
La luce che tu dai
I pray you will find your light
nel cuore resterà
in our heart.
a ricordarci che
Stars go out each night.
l'eterna stella sei nella mia preghiera.
Let this be our prayer.
Quanta
Lead us to a place.
Guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be saved. Sogniamo un mondo senza più violenza, un mondo di giustizia e speranza, un mondo di amore.
Kenneth Dale, Julia Laskowski, and Boris Britt, performing one of Howard Caesar's favorites. So, speaking of Howard Caesar's favorites, Roger Teal, I think you're one of his favorite people. For those of you who don't know, Reverend Dr. Roger Teal is the senior minister at Mile High Church, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, spiritual community in the New Thought movement. A longtime friend of Howard and Diane, he and his beautiful wife, Erica, who is much funnier than you would think. Just looking at her, she's great. And they are longtime friends, I said, of Howard and Diane, and also of this church. Please give him a warm unity welcome, Dr. Roger Teal.
Thank you. Good morning. I first of all want you to know that all of the congregation of Mile High Church stands with you, Houstonites, as you move through this very, very difficult time. I think one of the things that our teaching brings to us is that times like this, though devastating and painful, are precious moments of experiencing our oneness revealed. And that's where we stand with you, and our hearts and prayers and support will continue to be with you. And so I'm here today to honor a man I deeply love and his wife, Diane. I love you, Diane. It's interesting. My personal walk in the ministry parallels very much Howard's. I started 41 years ago as well. Started my first ministry in the Pacific Northwest, as did Howard. And we became friends about 20 years ago. And Howard has been my prayer partner for these last 16 years. And I don't know what I'm going to do without you, buddy. I don't know. Thank you for sustaining me in that. And you know what? I didn't know that retirement was really an option for us. And so, nobody told me, and thank you for the lesson in this. But Diane, with Howard's retirement, you're going to have twice as much husband with half the income. So I wanted you to know that. And you'll probably be realizing that you never gave Howard's secretaries enough sympathy through this experience. And Howard, you're getting out of the rat race, but you're going to have to learn to get along with a whole lot less cheese. So know that. And now that you're retiring, you're going to have twice as much time to read up on the problems of retirement. That's going to be there. And one of the main problems with retirement is that there are no days off in retirement. It's there. And you're going to get a new bedtime. And that is 3 hours after you fall asleep on the couch. That's going to be. And you, the beautiful, beautiful congregation here of Houston Unity, you're going to have a lot of changes, and you've got to know that there are going to be a lot of changes for Howard and Diane, and we all have to accept them no matter what. In fact, the other day, I heard them putting a new message on their phone machine. It's this: we're not available right now, but thank you for caring enough to call. We are making some changes in our life. Please leave a message after the beep. If we do not return your call, you are one of the changes. But what I know about this couple is you'll always be in their heart. Howard, I acknowledge you as one of the finest ministers I've ever known. A great church builder. A great church builder here and in your first ministry in Olympia. But more than anything, you have what I call the minister's heart. And that's what you've brought to this work and to this congregation, the minister's heart. And I know so many of you have been touched by the minister's heart of Howard Caesar. And that heart is also reflected in Diane Caesar, who's right there at that light shining in that incredible heart. And Howard, you've been a committed leader both in all of your unity positions, and I got a list of them. It's too long. It's too long to read all of the ways you've served the movement of unity. And then you were a co-founder with Mary and so many of us in the Association for Global New Thought, which has done landmark work to get New Thought into the mainstream. You've been on the Big Sky Retreat Board. You've shown such spiritual leadership for many of your colleagues as you've stretched into the oneness movement and into the John of God phenomenon, which I have followed and am so grateful for. It's just incredible what you've done. And along with your great spiritual heart, you have, and I want you all to know this, you have been an incredible example of business and development acumen here. And you all are sitting in the midst of the business and development acumen that Howard has brought here. And the legacy is a wonderful one to continue. So with that being said, Howard, I just love you and I bless you. And I know that you care so much for this church. You've done so much for it, and you've found a wonderful successor in Reverend Michael Gott, whom you stole from us in the religious science, mind, and spirit movement, but we're all one, so we love and bless you. And what I want you all to know is that the greatest gift that you can give to Howard and Diane is to support this man with everything you've got in you. Everything. I know what it has meant to me to have an incredible wife walking with me these 41 years in Erica. Stand up. She's so pretty to look at. Erica. Diane, I know the contribution you've made here. I think I do, but I think it's more than I can even know. And it's maybe more than you all may know, that she's here almost every day of the week in the past. She's helped decorate the stage. She's led women's retreats, and more than I can even mention. She has been up here on the platform with Reverend Howard. And Diane, you're tireless and a wonderful light, and I know everyone's heart goes out to you today, too, in gratitude for what you've brought to this ministry. Howard and Diane are cherished friends of Erica and myself. We've traveled a lot together. Howard and I pray most every Saturday night together, and I hope I can twist your arm to continue that. And we've loved traveling with you extensively. And now, Howard, you've got a book out, 1 + 1 = 1. It's excellent. If you all don't have a copy of that, come on now. Don't leave here today without a copy of that book. And I want you to know that I understand what it's like to carry a ministry as senior minister. It's more than I really can articulate. It's something else, and it's a joy, and yet it's its own kind of burden, and yet a joyous burden, yet a burden as it is. I know that it is not easy for you, Howard, to shift gears, to leave a forum of ministry to which you have given your heart and your soul to for over 40 years. And I just invite us all to hold him and Diane in our prayers. And also, as we do with virtually everything that happens in life, in New Thought, we hold it as a teaching moment for us all. And I invite you into this moment to reflect upon your life. Abraham Heschel wrote, "The higher goal of spiritual living is not to amass a wealth of information, but to face sacred moments." And there are those sacred moments that sometimes are agonizing moments. They're the moments when you realize a chapter is complete, that you've turned the last page, and that the next chapter is there blankly waiting to be written. And it's not easy, and yet that's a part of the spiritual walk, is to face those sacred moments. And I invite us all to be aware of that, because those moments show up in every one of our lives in different ways. And it's all about saying yes to life's constant unfoldment process in us. We are unfolding beings. There's not a being in this room who's a static, finished, stuck being. You are an unfolding essence of the divine, and that means you're meant to unfold. As the great mystic Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, I want to unfold. I don't want to stay folded anywhere. Where I am folded, there I am a lie. It's about unfolding. And I acknowledge you for your willingness to unfold and to say yes to what is calling you. I acknowledge you. It touches me deeply. In some respects, I think of it as like the chambered nautilus. Have you seen a chambered nautilus? Those beautiful pearlescent shells and housing an exquisite creature in them. And that little creature builds chamber after chamber after chamber in that nautilus until it becomes this beautiful, beautiful nautilus. But it always lives in the newest chamber. And I think the lesson in that is life is about living in the freshest chamber of our hearts. And that's the lesson you're offering us. It's a fresh chamber of your heart. And I'm glad you've trusted it. And I honor you in that. And I invite us all to be that trusting of what calls us in our life. So as we honor this beloved couple, and I couldn't love you two more. I couldn't love you more. I just leave with these words from Isaiah 61. And by the way, Howard, this is a passage that a guy we both loved, my mentor, Fred Vogt, and Dr. Fred Vogt, and somebody you hung out with a lot on the Big Sky Board and elsewhere. He carried this in his wallet because he was, too, also a wonderful ministerial heart. And I'm going to read this, not in the accurate voice, because I have the Teal translation of virtually everything in the Bible. But this is a translation meant to acknowledge what you have done from Isaiah 61. The Spirit of the Lord has surely been upon you, Howard Caesar, because he anointed you, and you have preached good tidings to the meek, bound up the brokenhearted, proclaimed liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. You've comforted so many who have mourned, given them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, and the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might then be called, so many of them have been able to step into being called, sturdy oaks of righteousness, and that God is glorified through them. That's your work. That's what you have done. I love you. I honor you. Let's all acknowledge this beautiful couple, Howard and Diane Caesar.
Sound. Oh, where's the sound? Oh, man. There's no sound. That's so disappointing. Are we going to get the sound? Should we come back to it, Greg? Okay. We're going to come back to that because I don't want you to miss the sound. It's an amazing video that we put together. We get to hear Howard's voice from a previous incarnation in a previous building. So we're going to move ahead in the program. We have another one of Howard's favorite people on the planet, and she is one of mine too, and you are too, Roger. But Mary has been, you have, in very beautiful moments along this journey for me, you've been there for me, and you know those conversations we've had. A great friend of this church. She is the founder of Life Mastery, Inc. She is an amazing minister, a speaker, an author, and many of you know her well. Please welcome Mary Morrissey. Thank you.
Good morning. Listen, look at you. Give yourselves an applause for being here today. So let's take a moment and take a deep breath. Some of you have been in this church a very long time. For some of you, this is your new church. You've just come here this year. And for some of you in this room, this may even be your first moment in this church. this day, and someone brought you to celebrate what's happening here today. But one of the things that has been true in this church since its beginning is whoever you are and wherever you are in your journey of faith, you are welcome here. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your own growth, you're welcome here. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever your background has been, and as Congresswoman Shirley said, your color, your creed, your orientation, your, whatever distinction of difference, in this place, we're unity. In this place, we're unity. So for a moment, for all the people that ever come that gave of themselves, their time, their talent, and their dollars, all of this comes to this moment on this Sunday. And yes, it is a completion moment for Reverend Howard Caesar and Diane and this ministry in one way. There's so much more inside this moment. I remember being in the pyramid with you, any of you who were there, dreaming up a new sanctuary. Dreaming the possibility that all the many people who couldn't get in the sanctuary that Sunday would actually have a room where you could all get together. Dreaming up the stretch that would be required both personally and financially for a group of people to come together, not just to produce the building, but by means of producing the building to grow ourselves spiritually. I was in conversations with people at different meetings around the country who were planning to contribute to this project here, and did contribute. So today, as we stand underneath the presence of the living Christ, who for many, many years, both in the pyramid and now in this building, ever since it opened in 2004, this open-armed presence, and said, whoever you are and wherever you are in this journey, come here and be here. I was thinking about having met Howard and Diane in Tacoma. And those of you that came from Tacoma and were in the presence of that ministry, and then coming here, of course, to Houston in the early 80s. Since Howard and Diane have been here, there have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 presidential elections. Now, in every congregation, when you have a presidential election, not everybody's on the same side. And holding unity in the presence of different points of view. Holding unity when you went through not just Harvey, but Barry and Gilbert and Allison and Madeline and Brett and Javier and Ivan and Rita and Umberto. Major storms in this city over the course of the last 4 decades. And more than that, major storms in our own lives. In this human journey, in St. John's St. John of the Cross's wonderful work, Dark Night of the Soul. He said, not if the dark night comes to each one of us, but when the dark night comes to us. There's a diagnosis, there's a death, there's a divorce, there's something in the economy, there's something when the world as we knew it, and for, of course, many Houstonians right now, the world as we knew it 3 weeks ago is different today. As a community, you're coming together and you're really addressing that. But individually, he said, when the dark night comes upon you, the first thing you do is do everything you can do to make it go away. And when you discover your power is not enough to make it go away, if you surrender to it, 3 things will happen. The first is a feeling of release, and the second a feeling of relief because you've stopped fighting it. And he said the third thing is a strange feeling that comes over you, and that is that you actually don't want it to go away too soon because you want everything it came to give you, because in God there's only good. And as you've learned over the many years that Howard and Diane Caesar have been here, how often is God good? All the time. All the time. So as I've stood also at moments where I've come to visit and heard stories about what's gone on in your personal lives, which have been personal hurricanes, you've told me how Howard has come to visit you, how he stood with you, and for all of you who have had really the powerful privilege of having them as your senior ministers from up to now. For a moment, let's all look back and give thanks for the weddings, our friends, perhaps our own weddings. He stood with you when you got married. He stood with you when your baby was born. He stood with you when that baby got christened. He stood with you when that child might have gotten into trouble. He stood with you when the business was doing well and when the business was struggling. He stood with you when your parents were aging. He stood with you when it was time to bury your parents or your friends, and way too sad, one of your children. He stood with you in the middle of the night. And I also want to acknowledge, in the presence of all of that, and I think Roger's a senior minister for 41 years. I was a senior minister for 23 years. Unless you've followed that path and done that work, a large work, you can't put words to that. What it means to love the people so much that a 3 o'clock call is, of course, what you do. You get up and you go. And that's, in a large group of people, that's a repetitive kind of your life. And your spouse is a person who makes sure that the house works and that the kids get off to school and the kids get fed. And the kids are the ones who Sunday after Sunday and holiday after holiday put their celebrations later so that the celebration for the community can be led by their parent. And I just want to invite the 3 Caesars children to stand for a moment and acknowledge you guys, Dawn and Troy and Star. We thank you for your givingness and your willingness all these years. And Brady too. Yeah, go ahead. Brady's going to stand, the grandson. So Howard and Diane, you can feel the love, you can feel the support, you can feel a huge gratitude that can't even be spoken by all of us for your years of contribution in caring and loving. So know this, that doesn't end this day when you walk out of this church officially, no longer being the senior ministers of this church. But there's something else that happens. In the Bible, 40 is the symbol of completion and new beginnings. So Noah has 40 days in the flood. And Jesus spends 40 days on the Mount of Temptation. And Moses wanders in the desert for 40 years. So 40 is a symbol of transformation and new beginning, the new beginning of this next stage. And I know that the call that brought you to ministry has not gone anywhere. I know the call of making a difference with what you do with your time and talent and your interest has not gone anywhere. It's seeking a new chapter and a new expression. And for that, I acknowledge you and I follow you in that also, Howard Caesar. I love you dearly, both of you. I'm grateful for your friendship, and I invite all of us in this moment not to clap, but to just go deep and make your own personal commitment that someday people will be speaking about you. And someone, whether it's a gathering of friends, it may not be, 1,000 or 12, 1,500 people, but it'll be, there's a lesson in how these two people have lived their lives for each one of us. It's not just a showing up when other people are looking. It's not just a showing up when major events are happening. It's a way of getting out of bed in the morning. It's a way of how we treat each other when we're driving. It's a way of being in the world. And for that, I think your greatest lesson is in how you've been and how you are. And we're forever grateful. Thank you. One more now. Big applause for Howard Diane. This then is our moment to both acknowledge what's been and also make sure that what is next goes forward. And I want to say, like any good leader, and Roger acknowledged this, great leaders look for talent, and they look for commitment, and they look for a heart for ministry. And over many years of being Howard's prayer partner, I know that for years he was praying that when the time was right, that he would be guided to find someone who would be your next leader in this community. Someone who would take everything that had been built, but now take you to the next whole level of ministry and effectiveness and wonder and majesty together. And so Howard did a nationwide search, not just for 1 year, but for many, to find the person who is your next leader. And Michael Gott, I am so, so grateful that it's you. Would you just stand up for a second? Let everybody look at your community. And ladies and gentlemen, I think your cheering and your cheers for Michael is a testament to Howard's ministry and his leadership in bringing you Michael Gott. All right, so this is our time for our offering for Unity of Houston. Now, as we hear that it's time for us to contribute and bring our offering, notice that we all have habits of giving. And it's easy to go into status quo mode, where this is what we do, and it might be 5 or 10 or 100 or 1,000 or whatever your normal is. But today, let's stretch each one of us, both as a gratitude of this 40 years of ministry, but also as a clear, unmistakable statement to this board and this new minister that we love this ministry and we want it to go forward. And if each one of us do just a bit more than we might have thought we would. Joe and I came in this morning, my husband Joe Dickey and I, we had a plan for our contribution. We got the checkbook out and I said, I'm going to ask everyone here to stretch. What would our stretch look like? He stretched more than I thought we were going to stretch. And we wrote that check. So I invite you to join us now in an amazing offering for the forward-moving, wonderful gift called Unity of Houston. Let's take our gifts in our hands. There, I know you can write a check. I know you can give cash. I also know you can do a credit card. And there's many different ways to give here. So we have an offering. So we take that gift, hold it close to your heart, and let's say our offering blessing together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, and all the good I give and receive. And as the baskets are being passed our way, let me start here. Thank you for letting us start. I just want to close with a statement that Rumi, the Persian poet, said 800 years ago. He said, it's as if a king has sent you into a far and distant land with one specific task to accomplish. You could accomplish 100 other things, but if you do not accomplish the one thing for which you've been sent, in the end, it will be as if you've accomplished nothing. And for each, it's as if a king, the G-O-D, the grand overall designing presence of the universe, sent you and me into a far and distant land, planet Earth, human birth, with one specific task to accomplish, the discovery of really who we are as sons, as daughters of God. And then the delivery of our particular version of that, our particular gift to the world. Howard Caesar, you have done that. You have served that for 40 years. You have trained us, taught us, modeled that. And we all look forward to the next stage of what that one thing looks like by means of you. Thank you.
minister in Olympia, Washington for 7 years, who was hired here and has served in this pyramid as the third senior minister since May of 1983. You can do the math. A sacred environment that is about total acceptance, total trust, total safety, and total diversity and acceptance. Acceptance and truth and love is something that we have for all, everyone. Leaves no one out. And what it is that we have for each other in this church, we seek to be replicated in the world. We try to be an example of what the world should be. My whole life has been about unity. My whole life has been about oneness. I've been drawn to it. I believed in it. And not only do I love that word community because the word unity is in it, but the word commune is in it. That what we do is come here to commune with God in unity. What could be more beautiful than that?
We've all traveled down a path. It might have been a bike path, a path through the woods, or a sidewalk through the city. But there's another path, the spiritual path, and it's the most important path you'll ever travel. There. It's just a matter of finding them when we didn't place.
Solutions are not so much something we create from nothing, but our existing ideas just waiting to be put to work. Whatever the problem, realize that there is a divine intelligence at work in your life, revealing the solution that is just waiting to be put into place.
Join me in our blessing together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. And I affirm that God loves me and God loves through me.
There is a spirit in each of us that will take us higher and higher and just
Thank you. As many of you know, we are a volunteer-driven organization, and there is no group of volunteers that has given more of their time and their talent and their dedication and commitment than our board of directors. I'd like to welcome them to the stage at this time, and we will hear a few words from our president, Marilyn Huggins. Please welcome our board.
This is a hard act to follow. I mean, when you have people like Roger Teal and Mary Morrissey up here talking from the heart and getting up here, it's pretty hard to be the last one to speak. Howard and Diane, today is your day. It's full of stories, pictures, memories, well wishes, and gratitude for a job well done. We have heard some of your favorite music from these absolutely great musicians that we have here at Unity. How you have touched the lives of our children, how you have made a place in history in our city, supported Unity and New Thought, Big Sky, all of these things in great ways. How you have grown the city of Houston, the unity in the city of Houston, into the wonderful church that it is here today. Together, you've been an absolutely awesome team. I am so honored to represent the board of directors and the entire congregation to say a few words on this day of celebration. We want to express our gratitude for all that you've done for all of us, personally and collectively, over all of these years. You've been a very important part of our lives, supporting us through the births of our children, our grandchildren, through adoptions, through christenings, 349 of them if you didn't know. Marriages, 826. Memorials, 333. For a total of 1,508 family services over and above the Sunday services, which we figure to be approximately 2,500. Your counseling, your prayers, and your support have been comforting and very helpful. Your lessons were always teaching us and guiding us into the new levels of our spiritual growth. To quote one of our congregants, our former religions gave us the tools in the toolbox. Unity shows us how to put them into everyday life. And Howard, you certainly guided us in that process. Diane, we so appreciate your devotion, the work with the children, the women, your outstanding platforming, the beautiful decorating for special occasions, all of which has been a special blessing for all of us. We loved it when you gave Howard some extra help during the announcements, especially when he'd blush, and that made us all laugh. You were always quick, and we really loved it. We kind of waited for it. You've been a strong, beautiful, loving presence, Diane, and we thank you so much for that. You have given so much of yourselves to guide all of us. Now we wish for you to have time for you and your family and to enjoy whatever else becomes part of God's plan for you. I had to put this in writing because I wasn't sure I'd make it through. I found this in the Daily Word from several years ago. Actually, I was cleaning out a cabinet, considering what I wanted to say, and a Daily Word dropped out. You know, God does answer prayer. It seems so appropriate for you as you move on in the next phase of your life. It's entitled, and I quote, "I choose freedom and I soar." When a butterfly leaves its chrysalis, it abandons its former way of life. The very transition takes time as the newly formed butterfly waits for its wings to dry. Once dried, it takes flight, leaving the old ways behind as it soars freely. Like the butterfly, I may find that my freedom from a former way of life takes time. I cocoon myself in prayer and meditation. I consciously let go of old thoughts, ideas, and habits that keep me from the full expression of who I am now. I let go of the past and live in the present. I am not held back by fear of failure or defeat. Through the power and presence of God within, I am free to soar through the garden of life. And to quote someone we know and love, life is meant to be good. Life will be good. It will be different. Like the butterfly, you will soar to new and different heights. May you go forward and continue to shine your lights. Be a blessing in the world. We will forever be grateful, and we love you both. And now, if you would, we'd like for you to come up here on stage. Okay. We have some, I guess I better take this one. Okay. We have something special for you here. Two of our board members are bringing it out at the moment. They asked me when they were getting ready to do this why we picked the oldest, I won't quote exactly what they said, the oldest members to do this. And I told them it was because we loved them so much. But just in case, you want to come over here? We want everybody to be able to see, get you over here on this side. Dooney, do the honors. This plaque will go out here in the sanctuary as a dedication. It says, in deep appreciation for 34 years of loving and dedicated service, this sanctuary was built in 2004 under the leadership of Reverend Howard Caesar to provide a sacred space for spiritual awareness and growth. As Reverend Caesar says every Sunday, we bless all who are here and all who are not. We bless all religions, all spiritual paths, and all people in the spirit of love and oneness. With deep love and gratitude from all the lives that you have touched by your loving presence. September 2017. Thank you all very much. And one other thing, we have one for you to take home for your church office.
Awesome.
The same thing. And that's from the board of directors.
All right. Thank you.
Howard and Diane, I know that with the words we've been waiting to hear. So share us what's in your heart.
What a beautiful morning this has been. I think we're probably well into the afternoon already. To begin with, it feels a little bit like our Academy Awards today, and we have so many people to thank. And I hope I won't be hearing the music that means get off the stage. But to begin with, I want to thank God. God has been the center of our lives and the compass that always points us in the right direction. 44 years ago, I agreed to marry a young man whose dream it was to become a minister. And when that decision was made and we married, I want to thank my parents. They're not here today. My dad has passed, but my mother is in Wisconsin, and if she ever gets to see a film of this, I wanted her to know that a big debt of gratitude goes to them for being open. I was changing my spiritual path, but I also was leaving my family, my hometown, and beginning a whole new life together in the adventure of ministry. So I have a deep sense of gratitude to them for not resisting that change. Then I want to thank my children, Dawn, Troy, and Star. Just so proud of the adults that you have become, and for the understanding that ministry was not a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday kind of occupation. And the many Sunday after Sunday, they would be here all Sunday morning, 2 services. And they were so grateful when the oldest finally got their driver's license and they were able to come to 1 service. And I also want to thank you for not telling me until recent years that they would normally go to 1 service and then they would spend the other service in Howard's office doing their homework. So I thank you for not telling us that you would go down Hillcroft, cross Westheimer to have Shipley donuts once in a while on Sunday morning. Brady, I want to thank you, my grandson. He is representing the 3 grandchildren that we have. His sister is back in Washington with their dad, and Ellie Grace is asleep in the vestry this morning. But one of the biggest joys, Brady, in my life now is being able to be Nana to you and Dylan and Ellie. So thank you. I want to thank all the special guests that came in, Mary and Joe, Roger and Erica, the ministers who came in from out of town. It's just very touching, and the beautiful words that you shared the other night will go with us forever. I have a very special family that we began our relationship in Olympia, Washington, the Brower family, and Tammy and I and the whole family, we were neighbors, and we just bonded. And I know it was very difficult when when God tapped us on the shoulder and told us it was time to leave Olympia and come to Houston. But thank you for your commitment to our friendship, because we are as close today as we have ever been, and I appreciate that. We've been to every family, weddings, everything together, and thank you. I'd like to thank Howard for being a model of commitment and dedication, first to his own spiritual growth and to this church. I have to admit that there were times that I wished he wasn't quite so committed and dedicated. But it was always what was best for, I've heard many, many times, what is best for the church instead of what is best for myself. And I appreciate that dedication. To our wonderful staff and everybody who put this beautiful day together, thank you. You work tirelessly. You're just such a wonderful, dedicated group of individuals, and you are all blessed by the hard work that this staff does. Reverend Michael, I'm just so glad that God tapped you on the shoulder and that you listened to take the next step in being a part of our spiritual family here at Unity of Houston. And I know together you are all going to do amazing things, like somebody I've heard sing a beautiful song, amazing things, and we can't wait to hear about it. To everybody here, and to those who may be listening on the stream or the future broadcasts of this event today, we have stood together in unity and in love, and I mean that together. We have been there for each other in the great times celebrating as well as the challenging times together. So we will miss you, but I'm sure we'll be back. So thank you to everyone.
ordain you a unity minister.
I've always said one in the family is enough.
So God is good. It's been an incredible day. Actually, you know, you need to take this in the right way. I feel like I got to attend my own memorial service. Think about it. It's, I got to sit here and receive all the love. And I think as a spiritual being, anyone who's made their transition is always with you at a memorial anyway. But I am in transition and have always felt guided. And at this time, I feel complete in pulpit ministry. It's been tremendous. My thank yous go everywhere that Diane has already expressed and beyond. I thank all of you because in addition to my dear family, which are the light of my life, every one of them, and I have to be careful because that's where I can really lose it. But beyond that, you know, you are family, and I've always thought of that. You are my spiritual family and my true family because I have been drawn into ministry out of the idea of love and oneness, and the word unity has always lived and reverberated in me. It's what pulled me into the ministry even when I was very much afraid of being up in front of people. I have a degree of introvertness. And when I went to ministerial school, I did not look like I would be all that good. And just to say it briefly, when you're in ministerial school, when I was back 41 years ago, you had 5-minute talks, 10-minute talks, but you had really only one true, like Sunday talk that was 25 minutes long. And it was called the Chapel Talk, and it was in front of all of there was the 2 classes, there were about 70 ministers, and there was the faculty, and there were workers from world headquarters that would come in, and it was in the morning, and you got to do one in your whole time in ministerial school. And so I worked on that for weeks and weeks and weeks, and as it came together, I gave it to Diane 20-some times. And I thought to myself, I'm going to have to do this every week. How am I going to How can I do this? And Diane, I could see it in her face. How is he going to do this every week? And I have to quote Erica Teal, who shared the other night, behind every successful man is a surprised woman. So I think I've surprised a lot of people. I've surprised myself. Life is about pushing through a lot of fear. And you have to know that in all of life, the goods are always on the other side of that fear. You have to cross that bridge. You have to face it. And I'm grateful that I have. And the truth is, you never do it alone. You do it with a lot of loving people that really love and support you and want to see you succeed. And you do it with that one presence and power that we all say is always and forever with us. And so I just share with you that basically never forget that God dwells within you. This church is in very good hands. I feel good in being able to step aside, leaving it strong and healthy. Strong and healthy, and a wonderful successor who has already been referred to. And Michael, this is a divine appointment. You are meant to be here. As I've said many times, God delivered answered prayer in bringing you to me to be, and to us to be the guy. And he has around him an incredible staff who put together this today and just are so devoted and so dedicated. A wonderful, healthy board of directors that is a mastermind group that carry within them a consciousness. I love every one of them because what we have accomplished together in the consciousness, spiritual consciousness they bring is very, very powerful. And I thank all of you for our years together. Some of you, maybe it's been months, maybe it's been a year or two. Some of you, I've received so many cards and messages and emails and texts and things, people saying, I was here the day you got here. So we've been here for a long time together. It has been great. But my mission has always been to teach, to love, and to inspire people into being all they were created to be. And so never forget that you are beautiful, you are whole, you are complete. God has already completed you, but you just don't know it. We're all waking up to that truth. So never forget that God dwells within you, that you are here to make a difference, that life is meant to be good. And so now, go, all of you, and be a light in the world. God bless you.
We're going to close with a special blessing ceremony. Everyone should have received 2 hearts as you came in. If you did not get a heart, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. The ushers will bring you. You need to have 2 of them. So please raise your hand high if you would like the ushers to bring you these beautiful, these are semi-precious stones, but these are hearts. We're going to do a brief blessing ceremony. So over here, ushers, thank you. They're coming to you. You have to raise your hand. Maybe if we sat, that would help. So this will be just a moment here. But please raise your hand if you need the heart to come to you so our ushers can get them. And keep your hand raised until you get, you need 2 of them, and we'll explain in a moment why. Up on the balcony, we have some hearts coming up over there. Do we have anyone up there in the balcony? No? We need someone to go to the balcony, please. Up in this section, we're going to need several. They're coming to you guys. I think. Yeah, we have a whole section up in the balcony there and there. So hopefully someone is making their way to you. Okay. Diane, I still don't see anyone coming up to that section right over here. We need to get them up there. So maybe someone will get up there. So Howard and Diane Caesar, we would like to offer you a blessing as a community. So you all will someone is coming, and just join us when we can. So I invite you to take the hearts in your hand and place them over your heart and close your eyes. And in this moment, I want us all to just imagine and call to mind the many gifts that we have received from this beautiful couple. The lives of this church. We actually sit in a building that was visioned by this man, supported by this woman. We saw the video of Diane bringing the light from the pyramid into this space. But whatever, maybe they're personal blessings. Just allow a couple of them to come to mind. Some way that you have been blessed. And so we fill these hearts, our own heart, and these that we hold in our hand, with gratitude and appreciation for Howard and Diane Caesar. And now let us bless them into the next chapter of their lives. And so just imagine that you can hold this space of, as Thomas Troward said, cheerful expectancy of good that is yet to be. We bless them in this next chapter, the blank page before them, that we know will be filled with amazing stories of love and joy and discovery, connection, fulfillment, purpose. We bless you on this journey. So God, we are so grateful to stand at this moment in the life of this community in deep appreciation for the work that you are doing, the work that you have done through Howard and Diane Caesar. We are grateful, and so it is. Amen. So what I want you to do is you're going to keep one of these, you choose which one, as a memento of this day. If you have an altar, you'll place it there, just someplace where it's special to you. And the other one, which you have blessed, you're going to give to Howard and Diane. And they're going to take that as a memento of the day. There are two ways you can do that. Their hands are not that big. We got it all worked out. Logistics are good. You can do it one of two ways. Ushers will be at the doors of this room with baskets, but if you would like to, you could just give it there. We'll make sure they get to them, but we'll have a receiving line in the reception over at the pyramid, and you can just give it to Howard and Diane yourself as you come through that line. But remember, there are a lot of people that are going to be greeting them, so and I think that's all. So I'd like to invite the children and grandchildren up on stage, and we are going to close in our usual manner. I want to remind you of a couple of things. We are having a party over in the pyramid. The reception is immediately following. We have food. We have a wishing well. You'll see it. It looks like a wishing well. And there will be stationery there, places for you to give your well wishes to Howard and Diane. And any other gifts you might have, you're welcome to put in that well. If you'd like to receive prayer, our Unity friends will be down front. Oneness blessings will be happening in the balcony after the service. I'd like to invite you to rise, join hands as we sing our peace song.
And together now, the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well in Father, Mother, God. We are grateful.
It's a beautiful day in a beautiful world.
In a beautiful world.
Put a smile on your face.
Put a smile on your face.
And shine your light in the world. Shine your light in the world. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. In a beautiful world. In a beautiful world. So put a smile on your face. So put a smile on your face. And shine your light in the world. Shine your light in the world. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. In a beautiful world. In a beautiful world. So put a smile on your face. Put a smile on your face. And shine your light in the world. Shine your light in the world. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. In a beautiful world. In a beautiful world. So put a smile on your